And it's interesting, the number of people that, when they start witnessing to others, they say, man, you need to become a Christian because everything's going to be so great and it's so easy and everything's going to be, my dad used to use the term hunky-dory. I don't know where that comes from, but anyway, it's not. Being a Christian takes work. It's something that, as I've been dealing with the book of Ephesians, and in the book of Ephesians, Paul is very straightforward when he says, if you're going to be a new man, you got to think about what you're doing. It takes thought. It takes contemplation. What am I doing here? Where am I going? What sort of person am I going to be? So verse 15, Jesus says, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. You shall know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes of thorns or figs of thistles? No, they don't. And, I'm not taking a pot shot at the prophetic movement, but, it's so, there are some people, they'll just go to any church and every church that has some sort of prophet. They want some kind of word from God. And what's interesting is when we study 1 Corinthians chapter 12, the gifts of the Spirit are clearly given so that we can begin to hear the voice of God and understand what God is doing, what God is saying. I'm very concerned about some of the things that that are coming down the pike nowadays. I work with what's considered vulnerable adults. And I have to sign agreements, and I take examinations on a fairly regular basis to make sure that I have an understanding of how to treat people and what to say and what to do, and so far, a clear understanding of the gospel is not something that is being prohibited in the work that I'm doing. In fact, if it was prohibited, I'd go find something else to do because I think it's so important to share the gospel. But we allow these men to go to different kinds of churches, and it amazes me what's being taught and preached nowadays. Just they come back so confused. Well, we heard some guy say this, or we heard some guy say that, and there's just such strange theology that is going on nowadays. It's always been there, It's not that it's, but I think it is proliferating because of the day that we're in. We have people are so in tune to, there's so many radio and television broadcasts, the news cycles, and people are just, people are just always getting some kind of new information, and, there's always something that's circulating. It wasn't like it was, in the days of Jesus. Yes, there was false theology. I think it took people longer to get it than it does nowadays. Nowadays they can get it just so quickly. Mm-hmm. So we need to be very, very careful. The scripture says, know them that labor among you. Know them that labor among you. And I think it's important that we know people, that the people that are ministering to us are trustworthy, and we know who they are and where they're coming from. I'll tell you what, I don't let just anybody lay hands on me and pray for me. And I made that statement the other day in a class, and one man that I often wondered just what he gets out of class, you know. He bolted up in his chair and he says, "You got that right." And when I said, "I don't let just anybody pray for me," and we had a situation where a guy it was very obvious. After a while, you know, you can only fake being a believer so long, and then the little pop off, you know. And there was this guy, he was floating around, and well, he came to me one day and he says, "You know, I'm an ordained minister too," and he says, "God's been speaking to me, and you know, just all sorts of things, you know." So, and I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So when this guy popped up and said that, I said, "Hey, did so-and-so want to lay hands on you?" He says, "He sure did." And he says, now here's a guy, this man that I'm saying just popped up, you know. He's just gotten out of prison, all right? So he hasn't been out of prison very long. And he said to me, "I didn't want him to pray for me because I didn't want to have him give me any of his demons." I thought that was an interesting comment.
That's a very strange statement for him to say.
Yeah, you know, you just never know where these guys are spiritually, but many times they have a deeper understanding of things than what, you know, you think that they do. All right, and so this is true. And Jesus has more to say about this. He says, "Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth bad fruit." Now, I think it's interesting that Jesus here, in talking about false teachers and true teachers, that he uses trees and fruit. All right? Now, put on your thinking caps. What about trees and fruit? Why would he use trees and fruit as an example? Anybody?
Well, the cross?
Huh?
Cross?
Nope.
Adam and Eve.
Why would he use trees and fruit?
Adam and Eve and the knowledge?
Nope.
No?
Well, no. Because you don't just pick fruit off a tree. You have to wait for it. All right? So what Jesus is saying here is you can look at a tree and you can say, "This is a fig tree." But you really don't know that it's a fig tree until it starts producing figs.
Mm-hmm.
And you might have to wait a while for it to begin to produce some figs, or an apple tree. You know, you come out to our house this time of year, and on Saturdays and Sundays the roads are plugged because people are going to the apple orchards. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because the apples are ripe now. All right? But in April they're not. In May they're not. Okay, so you can say, "Well, I've got an apple tree." But it's going to take you a while to know what kind of fruit's on that apple tree. And that's what Jesus is saying about people that minister to us and around us. It's going to take a while for the fruit to be seen. Don't just accept it at face. Yes, come in. "Well, I've come to tell you about Jesus." Hallelujah, you know. And I just want you to know everything that Jesus has done for me. And Jesus will do it for you too. You know, and I just want to set up shop here in your home. We're gonna sing songs and we're gonna worship Jesus, and you know, and we'll receive some offerings, and you know, we'll just see what's gonna we'll just, you know, well man, you know what, man, this guy came to me and he wants to set up shop in my home. He wants to start having, you know, services in my home. Well, how do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
He was just walking down the street and he picked your home out of 100?
Yep. Amen.
All right? And sometimes that's the way we are. We just pick up that, well, this guy's going to do it. We go to some service, and You know, it just kind of tickles our fancy, and but we don't know in the long run what's going on. It takes, spiritually speaking, it can take a long time. It can sometimes take. Well, I was driving down the road the other day, going down into Jordan, and I looked, down into the place where you guys used to live, and you lived in that. One time you lived in kind of a bluish gray.
Mm-hmm.
Is that trailer still there?
No.
It's not there. Okay. But Joey was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how many years have you guys known me?
25 years.
Oh, okay. So
24 years?
have I done anything to embarrass you? To make you say, "Oh, what kind of a guy is Pastor Dan?" All right.
Yeah.
It takes a while to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so Jesus is going to be talking here about, before you settle in with a ministry, you better understand what kind of fruit is going on here. There needs to be some sort of a track record. There are seasons in life. Notice this. He says, a good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Wherefore, by their fruits you shall know them. Now, every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. What are we talking about here?
Sounds kind of scary.
It sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? Okay? Remember what Jesus said? He said, I saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Has it happened yet? No, it doesn't happen until the 12th chapter of the book of Revelation. But Jesus already seen it. Okay? So what he's saying here is that God has already judged some ministries to be hewn down and burnt in the fire. And he'll give us a word. He'll tell us whether there's going to be good fruit or bad fruit.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to show us, okay? So, wherefore by their fruits you shall know them. Not every one that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in your name, and in your name have cast out demons, and in your name done many wondrous works? And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, who built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, who built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. And it came to pass, when Jesus had ended these sayings, the people were astonished at his doctrine. For he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. What does that mean? As one having authority and not as the scribes.
How did the scribes teach?
How did the scribes teach? What was a scribe?
Recorded.
Okay, they recorded, all right? What else did they normally do? What did they do for income?
Oh gosh.
They read their scribe, or they,
I can't remember.
I guess what's, I'm not looking for a word here,
Okay, they were scribes.
Yeah.
Scribes wrote, all right? So
Right.
that means they were people of education, correct? All right. Cordell, what else did scribes normally do? What were they? What was another vocation that scribes often had.
Well, they often interpreted.
They often interpreted,
Yeah.
okay? But what else? You're close.
They kept the books.
They kept the books,
Charts the records, yeah.
okay? They were intelligent. They were
But they-
lawyers. They
Really?
were lawyers,
Yeah.
okay?
Really?
So what do lawyers know?
The law?
The law,
The law, that's right.
all right?
And how to bend
Some
it?
of them.
Okay, and the law without the Spirit is what?
Yes.
Death. So Jesus was teaching them with the Spirit, and in the Spirit there was life. And they said, oh, there's hope. You know, I'm beginning to see that, you know, because the law, they kept, the lawyers, the scribes, the Pharisees, they just keep piling all their sins on top of these people, you know, and they'd have all these layers of guilt, and they would walk away in such shame with their, you know, with their heads just wagging, okay? But Jesus comes along, and he teaches them the real word, but there's spirit in it, and there's life. So what he's saying to them is this: watch out for these things, because this only wants to destroy you. Watch out for people that want to destroy you. Watch out for people, you know, watch out for people that are always telling you, well, I'm of God, but they're really not. There's going to come a day when they're going to be judged. You don't have to judge them. They're already being judged. They're already being taken care of. You know, I forget that once in a while. I say, oh God, how can you let this go? And I'm forgetting that God's not letting it go. He keeps the records. He knows what's going on. And there's going to be a day of reckoning for both, for them and for me. All right?
Mm-hmm.
My responsibility, keep a proper attitude. God's responsibility, to take care of the wrong. And he does it.
Mm-hmm.
He brings it to light. He brings all those things to light. Any thoughts or ideas? Any inspirations?
Yeah, a huge.
They took away the key of knowledge, didn't they, too?
Huh?
The law, it says somewhere in the Gospels, the lawyers took away the key of knowledge.
They took away the key of life. Yeah. What were you going to say, Brett?
Well, a big industry where scribes now earn a lot of money is in the medical scribes
Yeah.
business. So they hire companies that have thousands of medical scribes that go into the hospitals and follow the doctors, and they do all the recording and the scribe and the interpretation
Mhm.
for the nurses and the doctors, so that the doctors can do their job. you
Yep.
know, and they become the expert almost, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So they can speak with, you can speak with a lot of knowledge, but not have authority. And so authority comes in this case as Matthew is recording this for us. Authority is coming with the Spirit. So now notice verse 8. When he was come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Lord, if thou wilt, thou canst make me clean. And Jesus put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will be thou clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Jesus said to him, See thou tell no man, but go thy way, and show thyself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a testimony unto them. All right, beautiful, beautiful account. What's wrong with this picture?
One thing I see is he told him, he said, don't show nobody. Don't tell
Okay.
nobody. That's kinda
What
strange.
else?
Lepers were usually
Lepers usually had a bell,
Uh-huh.
and they would ring that little bell, and they would holler out, leper, 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 okay? So unclean, so that the person walking near the leper wouldn't get close to them. How close did Jesus get to this leper? He got close enough, he touched him. Totally a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Totally a no-no. Jesus used some rather unorthodox methods for ministry, didn't he?
Yeah.
He touched the leper. He spoke to the woman at the well and taught her theology. Okay? Jesus knew how to minister to people, and he knew what people needed. Now, Jesus is still under Old Testament law, because the Old Testament doesn't close until the resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jesus healed him. What happens? The leper's healed. Now what does Jesus tell him to do?
Tell no man.
Tell no man, but do what?
Show yourself.
The cleansing.
Go to the priest.
Yeah.
Still follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
There's probably some kind of rite that you got to do, ritual type deal.
There was. What did he say? He says you have to go and offer the gift. There was a cleansing gift that had to be given. Okay, and he had to take a mikvah. All right, had to do a ceremonial cleansing. All right, so so there was some ritual. Jesus didn't say the ritual has to stop.
I never really, that grabbed me just now.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, in church we have rituals. You know, we say, well, we're not under law, we're under grace. You know, and so the Pentecostals laugh at the Catholics because the Catholics kneel and genuflex and cross themselves, and the Catholics look at the Pentecostals and they say, well, they aren't holy enough. We don't even have a cross in our church. You know. All right, so but we still have these little rituals that we go through in church. We have to have X number of minutes of singing, which we call worship. Which I don't know why the entire service isn't called worship, but so we have so many minutes of worship. We have so many minutes of preaching, and so many minutes. So everything's ritualized. Everything is kind of kept in some sort of an order, all right? And, it's interesting, the law had its order, and what does Jesus say about the law? He didn't come to what the law? To abolish the law. He came to fulfill the law, okay? So the law couldn't heal, Jesus could heal. But he says, keep your rituals anyway, for the satisfaction of others that are watching,
To prove that he was for it, not against it.
Yeah.
He wrote it. So.
Right. He just came to fulfill the word that he had given. Yes.
Yeah, Jesus healed more than one leper at one time.
Oh, yeah. Jesus healed many lepers.
And one of them didn't come back.
That's right. That's the 10 lepers. Yeah.
What would modern day leprosy be now?
Well, if there's modern day leprosy,
Still is.
What is
yeah,
it?
there is leprosy. Yeah, nowadays they call it Hansen's disease. But it's the fingers.
Start to really place.
Well, that's open. Some say it is, some say it isn't. Tell you what, I wouldn't want to go up and hug a leper. There's been enough bad press that I would.
What exactly is it?
But you
though?
go to India and Pastor Frederick will take you to a leper colony.
And it's just the limbs fall off, or
Well, they wear away.
Yeah.
The nerve endings go away. So people cut themselves, they do different things, and they can't feel it. Today we probably call it neuropathy.
yeah.
The only one I know
Pretty
is
close.
Jesus, so.
Yeah. Only it becomes a disease. I don't know that neuropathy is called a disease, but
Yeah.
it's much the same thing. People cut their feet and get different things That's why people with true diabetics aren't supposed to walk around without shoes on, you know. So, okay. So anyway, so Jesus touches this leper, and he says, I will be thou clean. And immediately the leprosy was cleansed. Wow, okay. And then Jesus says, go show yourself to the priest and offer the gift. And if you go to the book of Leviticus, I didn't bother to look it up. If you go to the book of Leviticus, you'll be able to see what kind of a offering the priests were supposed to bring.
Yeah.
Verse 5, and when Jesus was entered into Capernaum, there came unto him a centurion, beseeching him, and saying, Lord, my servant lieth at home, sick of the palsy, grievously tormented. And Jesus said unto him, I will come and heal him. The centurion answered and said, Lord, I am not worthy that thou should come under my roof, but speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed. For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh. And to my servant, do this, and he doeth it. When Jesus heard it, he marveled, and said to them that followed, Verily I say unto you, I have not found so great faith, no, not in Israel. And I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the sons of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And Jesus said unto the centurion, Go thy way, and as thou hast believed, so be it done unto thee. And his servant was healed in the very same hour. Wow. That's faith. I say go, and soldiers go. I say come, and soldiers come. So I know what it is to have authority and have power. And I'm just asking you right now to exercise your authority and your power.
It's interesting how he words it, though. It says, I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me.
Yes.
So he recognized that Jesus wasn't speaking on his own authority.
Yes. Yes.
But he's given authority by somebody else.
That's right. That's right.
That's kind of cool, you know? Now,
Yep.
who is he speaking about in verse 12? What is 11 and 12?
The sons of the kingdom shall be cast out. Okay, let's go up to verse 11. I say unto you that many shall come from the east and west, and shall sit down with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. So, Jesus is saying here, just as Isaiah says, call unto the north, the south, the east, and the west. Come. All right? Come what? Come unto me, all you that labor and heavy laden. I'll give you rest. So, there's going to be many who are going to come into the kingdom from every direction of the globe. All right? But the sons of the kingdom, who are they?
Got to be Israel, right?
Israel. That's right. The sons of the kingdom shall be cast out into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So in other words, Jesus said, he said to his disciples, first of all, you are sent to the household of Israel. Okay? And then Israel would not believe. So that's when the Gentiles were invited in.
That's what I thought.
So there's a prophetic word concerning the Gentiles, that the Gentiles are going to come into the kingdom.
That's what I thought.
Huh?
Yeah, he's got down here Abrahamic covenant in verse 11.
Yep. Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. That's the men of the covenant. And when Jesus come into Peter's house, he saw his wife's mother lying and sick of a fever. And he touched her hand, and the fever left her. And she arose and ministered unto him. And when the evening was come, they brought unto him many that were possessed with demons. And he cast out the spirits with his word, and healed all that were sick, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Isaiah the prophet, saying, He himself took our infirmities and bore our sicknesses.
Amen.
You know, I just want to stop right here, just take a look at this. And he healed all that were sick. Notice who the all encompasses. It was those that were brought or those that were there. There were other people in the neighborhood that didn't come.
Sure.
Therefore, they didn't get healed. So Jesus didn't heal everybody that was in.
Heal the whole town.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I listen to some teachers teach or some evangelists preach, I get the impression that, you know, Jesus walked into a town and everybody in the town got healed. No, it's only those that came, those that listened. You know, the availability for healing is there. All right, but it's for only those that actually avail themselves or come to that place of healing that are actually healed. All right. Verse 18. Now, verse 18. Now when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave commandment to depart unto the other side. And a certain scribe came and said unto him, Master, I will follow thee wherever thou goest. And Jesus saith unto him, The foxes have holes, the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. And to another of his disciples said unto him, Lord, permit me first to go and bury my father. But Jesus said unto him, Follow me, and let the dead bury their dead. Okay, now there's two things I want to explain here. First of all, did Jesus have a home?
Yeah.
Yes, he did. All right, because in the first chapter of John, when James and John decide they're going to follow Jesus, the scripture says that they went home with him and spent the night there. All right? So being the oldest son in the family, when Joseph passed, Jesus took over the family house. All right, so he had a house. All right, so he had a place to live. So he's talking metaphorically here, okay? So what's he actually saying? This is a metaphor for something. The foxes have holes, birds have nests, Son of Man hath not where to lay his head.
He don't really live here.
He don't really live here, right? This world is not my home.
Yeah.
Okay? So the scribe says to him, I will follow you wherever you go. Well, hey, wait a minute. This world's not my home.
Yeah.
Are you really ready to follow me wherever I go? Are you really ready to pay the price? Okay? And another disciple said to him, Lord, permit me first to go and bury my father. And Jesus said to him, Follow me and let the dead bury the dead. Now, what is interesting about this verse is that the old man's not dead. Okay? Under Jewish tradition, I don't know if there's necessarily law, but under Jewish tradition, a boy, a son, would stay home, and he had responsibility to take care of his dad, to bring in income and do all that sort of thing. And so this man is just literally saying, I have to wait for a while before I can follow you, because I got things I have to do. All right? And Jesus is simply saying, let the dead bury the dead. If this man is dead spiritually, he's not going to understand anyway. If he understood spiritually, he'd let you go. Well, let me bring that home, okay? We have a daughter that's a missionary, lives in Guatemala. Tough? Oh, man. It's really tough on us, especially now that the grandkids are getting older, and, that little 2-year-old granddaughter of ours, she is just so cute. Just, says such cute things. It's so much fun to have her say, Gampa, Gampa, Gamma, Gamma. And just, be around her. And we miss her a lot, okay? And people say, well, don't you think she needs to come back to the States? All right? Well, it would be nice to have Erin come back and help take care of us. But she's doing what God's called her to do. Yeah. I'd rather have her doing what God has called her to do than to hang around waiting for us to die. Because after we're dead, then what's she going to do?
Got a point.
She's going to wish she's back in Guatemala, doing what needs to be done. So, I just say, well, pray that, somebody will take some sympathy on your dear old parents. And, it's just like this year now, for Christmas, we found out that none of our kids are going to be here, And so people say, well, do you feel bad about that? Well, of course, I feel bad about it, but I'm not mad or angry. That's just the way it is. When you got kids and there's two sets of grandparents still living, the only hope would be that one set of grandparents would go to heaven, and I suppose it'd probably be us first. But yeah, that's just the way it is. So what Jesus is saying here is this: there are some traditions that have got to go. If you're going to be a follower of Christ, you've got to let loose of a few family things. Sometimes some of the family issues, the things that the family has done traditionally, some of those things have to go away so that the work of God can go forward. What's more important? Your happiness and satisfaction, on this earth?
Mm-hmm.
And face it, folks, that's all we're really looking at now is this earth. So what's more important? A few hours of our happiness and satisfaction on earth. That's how people get into trouble. For a few fleeting moments of satisfaction, a lot of people drop into sin. They forget who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They do all sorts of things. And so, really, Christmas Day, what is it? It's not even God's day.
Commercial.
Yeah, it's just a holiday, okay? So for a few hours of my own satisfaction, am I going to put away what God's really calling people to do? Me or my daughter or somebody else? That's what Jesus is saying here. He's saying there's times that our earthly traditions have to die. There has to be a death so that life can come forth. Are you really going to follow me? I don't know. I just want to follow you any place, Jesus. Do you know what that's going to take?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to mean giving up. Did Jesus have a home? Yes. Did he spend a lot of time there? No. All right. And so the question is, what is God calling us to? And what is it that he's asking us to give up to follow him? Some people give up a lot. Some people don't give up hardly anything. I mean, anyway, it seems like it. It looks like some folks just have everything, But I think in the end, there is something that God calls everybody to give. You may not see it.
Sure.
It may be more visible in some than in others.
That's right.
But I think that's the way it is. He who receives his reward openly,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have a reward piling up in heaven. And so I think our eternal rewards are decisions that we make and nobody ever knows.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Okay to that.
Any questions?
Good word.
Well, I'm going to stop here because I want to spend some time on the wind and the waves and the demon in Gadara. All right. Hallelujah. Father, we just thank you now for the opportunity you've given us to come here tonight and to worship you. And I pray that as we contemplate now this word, that your Holy Spirit will lead us and guide us. Keep us in your protection, your love.